Welcome back, Eagles. Here we are. Another week. Here we go. You guys did a really good job. We had a little here and there. People were trying to figure out how to upload and do that stuff. But most of you got it figured out, and you're doing a great job. Good quality work. Well done, Eagles. Well done. All right, now, phase 2. Here we go. Same thing. Today, I'm going to give you the outline of kind of what we're doing with Gov and Econ. And this assignment, whatever Gov and the Econ assignment, they're going to fall into this one grade again, is due Wednesday at 9 o'clock. That's the late time. Wednesday at 9 o'clock. So you got a good 3 days to do this. Okay? Again, great job. First go around. Excellent work, guys. Keep it up. All right, now the first thing I want to do, on Friday, the director of AP, I'm sure you've probably heard from your teachers already, but the director of AP went on and did a video chat and all that stuff about how they're going to change the test and what every class, what to focus on, this or that, try to narrow it down, and it's 45 minutes and how you're going to do it. So, brass tacks right here. Saul Goodman. All right, here we go. The brass tacks is this. With AP Government, instead of 4 questions on the FRQ, they're doing 2. Okay? 2 questions. You're going to get the first one. You get 25 minutes to write it. Then you have 5 minutes to send it or upload it. And we'll get into all the details of that down the road. Then you have another question. You have 15 minutes to write it. Then you send it, and that's it. Okay? Same thing with Econ. Same thing. So when you take the Econ exam, there's normally 3 FRQs. 1 big one, 2 smaller ones. The only thing they're doing different on this one, you still have the 1 big one, then you have the smaller one, they get rid of the 3rd one. So you only have 2 questions. So really nothing has really changed with the Econ except getting rid of that 3rd one. Same, the big number 1, 25 minutes to do, should have plenty of time, send it out, then you do the number 2, send it out. You have 15 minutes on that, okay? So what we're gonna do, this first thing, first of all, the test, they pushed them back a week, okay? That's good news, right? Still right in that area, but they pushed it back. So the government test is May 11th, Monday, May 11th, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. The econ, the macro econ, is May 21st at 4 o'clock. Again, you're taking these at home. Okay? And I'm going to get into all the stuff they said about how to upload it, how much time, preventing cheating, and if you can use notes and all these different things. They're going to send out, AP sending out practice situations and how we can upload it. We're going to practice this stuff when we get closer on how to send it and all that stuff. Okay, that because we want to make sure you did it. You got to make sure you can get it out there. Okay, so again, government May 11th, 4 o'clock. Econ, the 21st, May, 4 o'clock. Okay? All right, here we go. Government. What you're going to do this week, the first part, is we have a PowerPoint that's going to be out there. It's like 10 slides or something. And it's going to explain the number 1 question and number 2 question. What they're all about, gives examples. I had some great person help me out with that. She's really talented. Yeah, she does a good job. She was a great English teacher, and now she does the media. So I have good. That's not my strong point, but I got someone that I delegated, and people. It's kind of like that thing we call comparative advantage. I'm better at certain things, and then I outsource and have someone else that's better at that. They're the expert. So you're getting really good info on this, on how to write these FRQs. So when you go through the PowerPoint with government, there'll be questions, guiding questions. You need to answer these questions, okay? You're going to answer these questions step by step to make sure you're following this PowerPoint. Then you will have an FRQ at the end of this slide. FRQ, you're going to write it out. Okay? There's little hints in there on how to do it. Okay, for each question, and you need to write it out. We would like you to type it out. We'll put it on the Google Doc and all that stuff, and it's easier because when you take your exam, you should be able to type it. Now, again, if you're having problems with the Google Doc, you can write it out, take a picture, send it in. But I want you to practice, try to figure this out. If those of you that are having problems with getting the Google Doc and sending it to me, okay? But I would like you to type it, and what's going to happen, you're going to be graded on this. Now, we're going to look at it as an AP exam. So you're looking at 100, a 75, a 50, and a 0. It's going to be graded tough. So, if you get a 75 in the grade book for this assignment, this part of that assignment, and I'm going to send you back feedback. Explain this. Do the better job in this. Just like Albert, remember old Albert? If you want that 100, you submit the clarifications that I said to you. Okay? That I sent to you. So if you got a 50 on it, and we wrote out, like, what do you need to do? You send it back with the corrections, basically. You're going to get the 100. Okay? Some of you might get 100, but it's tough in the first part. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? No? Okay, good. Now we're going to go to Econ. All right, guys, another thing. The AP College Board has been doing AP Live on YouTube, something like that. Go to that. Great. I'm sure your teachers have mentioned it. They're doing live stuff, going over all the information, updating things. Teachers around the country that are experts in this. And there's videos that the next video we do here, I'm going to put one of them on there. And the Econ is more up to date right now. The other one is a little behind on the government. And once they start getting their information, another great resource. They break it down really slow. You can pause it, obviously, and go through everything. AP College Board Live or YouTube videos, AP Live, that's something like that. I should have that info, but I don't. Okay? But I've watched it myself. Good stuff. Now, what we're going to do today, you need to take notes on this, just like you did last time. You need to take notes. We're going over 3 more graphs. Okay? 3 more graphs. You need to take the notes on this. All right? The first one, money market. Okay? Come over to the board. We have our Y and our X. Okay? The money market talks about the market for money. Okay? The market for money. Up here on your vertical, we have the nominal interest rate. Okay? Nominal interest rate. And down here, we have the quantity of money. It's the money market graph, so it's the quantity of money. Okay? Down here, we have the demand for money. Okay. In the vertical, it's supply of money, or MS, money supply, either one. Okay. This is the supply of money. This is your liquid money. Remember liquidity, liquid? What you're going to Publix and spending, your cash, okay, your debit card. That's what this is, this vertical right here. Who controls this supply of money in the United States? The Fed. The Fed, the central bank, controls this line. So whenever we talk about the tools of the Fed, okay, they're moving the supply. They're decreasing it, or they're increasing it. When they do that, that affects the interest rate. Okay? So here's your equilibrium. Okay, we come over here and we have nominal interest rate. Okay, that's your money market graph. Now, again, we talked about how the government, like now, the government's getting involved to do things. Okay? Draw yourself a new graph, show a shift here. We're going to shift. I'm not drawing a new graph. I'm going to leave it up there like that. Okay? There's 3 tools of the Fed, remember? The 3 tools are What are they, class? Discount rate, right? And what is the discount rate? The discount rate is what the Fed charges banks for a loan. Okay? So we have one, the discount rate. Fed charges banks for a loan. Okay? That's the interest rate. They charge an interest rate. They charge banks an interest rate to borrow money. Overnight lending. Okay? The discount window. The second tool of the Fed is the reserve requirement. They control the reserve requirement. Now, basically, what's in the vault? I mean, banks can store money with the Fed, but think about the vault. How much is required by law that banks have to put their money in the vault? Okay? So if the reserve requirement was 10%, I go to the bank, I deposit $1,000. Okay? I deposit $1,000. If the reserve requirement, if they have to put 10% in the vault, okay, that means $100 goes in the vault, and they have 900 they can lend out. All right, so we have 900 they can lend out. That's technically new money. When it's lended out, that's new money going into the economy. And we're going to go over that again if you guys remember. Okay? The Fed says, hey, the vault, it's 10%. That's what you got to keep in the vault. And you can lend out whatever you want. You can lend out the rest. You can do whatever. Now, if the Fed raises this and says, you know what, you got to put 50% in the vault, that means banks don't have as much money to lend out. Credit's tight. It's tough to get a loan. So things are going to slow down in the economy. Okay? What if the Fed said, hey, you only have to put 1% in the vault? That means the banks have more money to lend out, and money's going to be changing hands. People are going to get loans, buying houses, cars, all that stuff. Businesses are going to get investment, capital stock, all that going to get going. All right. So two things. They control the discount rate. They control the reserve requirement, and the one they use the most is OMO, open market operations. The buying and selling of bonds / securities. You can see here it as securities. Okay? So when the Fed buys bonds, the Fed is buying bonds. Okay, they're putting money into the system. Buy bigger. The money supply is going to get bigger when they buy bonds. Okay, when they sell bonds, they're selling a bond. Here's the bond. They sell it. We're going to sell it to you. People buy the bond. I'm selling it. They get the money from the people. Okay, and the money supply went smaller. Okay, they took money out of the system, and everyone else gets a bond slip. Okay, buy bigger, money supply bigger. How would I show increase in the money supply? Okay, well, if there's three tools, I would buy bonds. Let me erase this right here. All right, now let's say there's a recession going on. Okay, people are out of work. The banks aren't making loans. They don't have the money. What are the three things the Fed can do? Well, the first thing we talked about, the discount rate. Okay? Would they lower or raise the discount rate? They would lower it. Okay? Make it easier for banks to get money. What would they do to the reserve requirement? Well, they would lower it. They would say, hey, you don't have to put that much money in the vault. You can lend this out. You have more money to lend. So they would lower it. And what would they do in open market operations? They would buy bonds. Okay? This is during a recession. This is the playbook. This is the playbook or negative output gap. And how do we show that on the graph? Okay? Buy bigger. The increase the money supply. All three of these, one, if you did one at a time or all three, they increase the money supply to the right. Okay? Now we have a new equilibrium here. Now, as a result of that, look, I'm putting the interest rate went down. Okay? As a result of increasing the money supply by doing one of these things or all of these things, Fed knows they can increase the money supply, which over time lowers the interest rate. It lowers the interest rate. So you guys know if the interest rate is lower, consumers are going to buy more cars, homes, okay, boats, big ticket items, okay, durable goods. They get a loan if they want to buy a refrigerator or whatever, a washer and dryer, things, the durable goods, cars, homes. It's cost a lot of money. If that interest rate is lower because of the increasing the money supply, they're going to buy more stuff. The consumers are going to buy more stuff. The investment, businesses, okay? What are businesses going to do? Well, they're going to buy more capital equipment. I own my pizza business across the street. I say, oh, the interest rates are really low. I want to open a new pizza place. Well, I got to buy, not only am I getting a new brick and mortar place that they have to build and all that stuff. I got to get a loan and all that stuff. I got to get more ovens, pizza ovens. I got to get more computers. I got to hire more people. I got to do all this stuff, okay? But the main thing, the interest rate, the investment, that pizza oven might cost me $30,000 if I get it up to date. So I might not have the cash, but I know I can pay it back quickly with that low interest rate. So I'm going to expand my business. I get more capital stock, capital equipment, okay? All right, very good. Money market. Money market. Now I'm going to do the other way, the decrease in the money supply, and show you what happens. All right, Eagles, here we go. Now, a new scenario. We got inflation. Things are going too fast. Too fast, okay? We know fiscal policy, the president and Congress can raise taxes, cut government spending. Those are fiscal tools. But let's look at monetary, the Fed. Well, what are we going to do with the discount rate? Discount rate, if we want to slow it down, slow that spending, okay, we would increase the discount rate. Now it costs a lot more for banks to borrow from the Fed. So they're not going to borrow as much, okay? They could increase the reserve requirement, okay? They say, hey, instead of 10% in the vault, you're putting 70% in the vault. Now you don't have much money to lend out. If there's not much money to lend out, you and I, we're going to hold off on buying those cars and houses, and businesses aren't going to expand and buy capital equipment. Okay? So we're going to slow it down. And the one they use the most, OMO, open market operations, sell bonds / they're also called securities. Okay, bonds are a type of security. Okay? Either way, they list it either way on the AP exam. So when you hear that the Fed wants to slow down the economy, we're in inflation, they want to make the money supply, this is the Fed, the money supply smaller. They would cut it this way, to the left, okay? Money supply smaller. The Fed knows if they do one of these or all of these, it's going to slow the money supply, okay? Make it smaller. And the key to all this, what happens to the interest rate? It drives the interest rate up, okay? Banks don't have as much money. So now they're going to have to cover their costs. They're going to have to charge a higher interest rate, okay? Higher interest rate means what? Well, consumers are going to say, oh, well, the interest rate used to be 3% to get the house, or 4%. Now it's 15%. Uh-oh. Maybe it's not a good time to buy a house. Maybe we'll wait. Okay. Businesses. Investment. Capital stock. Business. Capital equipment. Okay. If I own a business, I own my pizza place, and I see now the interest rate's 22%, why would I go out and get a loan and try to expand my business at that time? It's going to cost me thousands of extra dollars paying the bank back on that interest. Not a good business move. Okay? Not a good move. So it slows down the economy. This is when inflation is taking place. If the Fed wants to slow the economy, they would shrink the money supply, which leads to a higher interest rate, slowing things down. All right, guys, I'm going to go through these next couple graphs pretty quick because I'm going to go in a little bit more detail as we go down the road with this. Okay? First is the Phillips curve, your favorite and mine. Okay? On the vertical, we have inflation. Okay? On the horizontal, the X, we have unemployment. Okay? We have unemployment. So all the Phillips curve is showing is the relationship between inflation and unemployment. We have here, oh, let's go to a different marker. That's not working very well, but we will adjust. Okay? We have this one here is the short run Phillips curve. In the short run, and here the long run Phillips curve. Look familiar? Same graph as the money market we just did. Okay? Now, you could put 5%. This is full employment. Okay? Now there's different ways you can label this. You don't have to label it. Okay? You don't have to worry about that right now. But what is this showing? In the short run, there's a trade-off. When inflation goes down, unemployment goes up. It's going oppo-zoppo. Before unemployment goes up this way on ADAS, it goes up this way on Phillips curve. Okay? Trade-off in the short run. In the long run, there's no trade-off. When prices go up, unemployment stays the same. Prices go down, unemployment stays the same. It's a trade-off. Inflation, unemployment. Now, the key things we got to get to the first part of this. If on the AP exam they should ask you to draw this, or they tell you the economy's at full employment, where would recession be in the marker? Technical difficulty. Where would recession be? Well, recession is here. Point A. Full employment is B. Inflation is C. Okay? Now remember, that shift when we get into PWAS and all that stuff, I'm going to work on that later because that's tying it in with aggregate demand, aggregate supply. But right now, I just want you to make sure you remember these points, where it would be on the graph, and what it's comparing. Phillips is inflation and unemployment. Okay, Eagles, here we go. Loanable funds. It is what it's saying it is. It's the market for loanable funds. You need a loan? We look at the loanable funds market. Okay, how do we label it? Well, up here's the real interest rate. Okay. And down here is the quantity of, you heard it, you guessed it, loans. Money market, this is money market, quantity of money. This is quantity of loans. We're talking about loans. Okay? So if they ask, in the loanable funds market, how do you do it? X marks the spot. Okay? X marks the spot. Now, all demand down, supply. Here's your equilibrium. This is your real one. This is your Q1. Can of corn. Now, think loans. Loans. Suppliers of loans are your savers. Okay? People, when you put money into the bank, you're increasing the supply of loans. Okay, you're giving banks money. When we save money, we're increasing the supply of loans. Okay, so your savers are your supply part of the loanable funds. Okay, the demanders are the people that need a loan. You need a loan for your car, you need it for business, the government needs a loan. We get into that crowding out, we'll get into that down the road. Okay, so whoever demands a loan is the demander, and people are saving, they're the suppliers. Okay, the banks have the supply, the savers are saving for the bank, all that, they're the supply. Okay, now, a couple scenarios that can happen. What I'm going to do, you're going to write this out. First thing, if I told you that people are putting more money in the bank, they're saving their money, what happens to the loanable funds? There's an increase in supply, okay? Increase in supply. Banks have more money available because people are saving. What the key is, what happened to the interest rate as a result of that? The interest rate went down, okay? So it ties in with that money market. If there's an increase in supply of loans, there's an increase, they have more money available, okay? Interest rate's going to go down. All right, here we go, Eagles. Loanable funds again. We're going to go in more detail, but I want you to remind you, a lot of you guys had trouble with this during the fall. Loanable funds. Remember this whole process called crowding out. When the government, we're going to get into budget deficits and budget surpluses, and remember that type of stuff, and it ties in with the government class, okay? When the government's running a deficit, it still has to pay its bills. It doesn't have enough money to pay the bills, so they have to borrow. Just like you and I have to borrow from friends, family, the bank, whatever, credit cards. The government borrows money, but they just don't knock on the door at the bank. They go and issue new treasury bonds, and they borrow money by demanding a loan. They get a loan by issuing new bonds, okay? They demand a loan. So to cover that deficit, to pay the bills, to pay the workers, to pay all this equipment, whatever it is, for the military, defense, all that stuff, okay? The government is demanding a loan. So just like if anybody else is demanding a loan, okay, we would see an increase in the demand of loanable funds, okay? Increase in demand. The government is demanding a loan to cover its budget deficit. And again, I told you about that College Board Live. There's a couple great videos I'm going to put on next week or next class. Okay? And the guy really does a good job of explaining budget deficits, budget surpluses, stuff like that, and the crowding out effect. So what happens when the government borrows money, it increases demand for loans, leads to a higher interest rate. Again, we already know if the interest rate is higher, consumers and businesses aren't going to borrow as much. So there's unintended consequences by the fiscal policy, okay, by the government borrowing money, okay, to cover its deficit. It leads to this unintended consequence of crowding out in the long run, like they're crowding out businesses and people from getting loans, raising that interest rate. Okay?
Oh.
All right, Eagles, great job. Hey, I know this is a lot. Hang in there with us. Hang in there. You guys are doing great. Stay with the videos. Listen, 3 days, 30 minutes, that's nothing. You hear me talk for 45 minutes in one day, okay? So that's nothing. You can do this. Make sure you get the notes on this. Copy the different things I said. Okay, give me some details. Some of you are a little skimp on that. Give me some details of what I'm talking about here so I know you're watching and paying attention. This stuff will come back to you. A lot of you did really good on this stuff in econ, okay? You stay with it. I will have an assignment posted, what you're going to do with the graphs and different scenarios and how we're going to work this, okay? So make sure you do the government PowerPoint. You go to that PowerPoint, answer those questions, then there'll be an FRQ writing, okay? Then you're going to have the econ. You're going to draw some graphs, and I have some questions with that. All right. Until next time, Eagles, have a good day.